Okay, first thing I noticed today, I cut off some pieces of my own and noticed that the hacksaw is cutting at an angle, so I ended up with more of a parallelogram there than an actual rectangle as it should appear from the side. So you might want to check yours, see how straight the cuts are. They seem to be getting progressively worse, so I think my blade is dull on one side and tending to cut one way more than the other. So check that out, look at them. You know, you're probably going to have to trim them up anyway. We're going to try to wander around with this thing. Sorry if it makes you dizzy. I don't like the Blair Witch thing any more than anybody else. Okay. Here is mine. Let's see if we can back it up a little more. Alright. So it's a square frame, right? Mine just has that air hydraulic in the bottom and yours will be on the top. It's the same principle. The springs return it back to true. What mine is, up at the top, I have some, let's see, you can see them. And see there's some bolts run through the top and they're welded in there, and then I just have nuts on the bottom, and then the plates on the bottom of the dies go right into that, and I just loosely put it on hand tight to do it, to hold it in place. The bottom dies I usually just let float, sometimes on a spacer. It just depends on the length of the dies. The more radius you have in the die, the more length it actually takes up, so you're probably going to end up with some spacers anyway. What I was thinking about on yours, get this one to hack it. Okay. Now that one's set up. I have just a piece of pipe in there representing the center core, but what my thought is on yours is leave that original top piece, you know, the piece of that comes down with the post, leave that in there for the moment till you get all these dies done. And I think you can probably put a piece up here on top and just get that where it's centered and use that piece to hold it in place, hold your center core in place anyway. And once you get it centered where you want it, squeeze it down a little bit with the jack, hold it in place, and then you can just lift that up and weld it while it's being held tight. Your bottom die plate you can set in the green female that's already done with the base plate and everything to hold it in place, and then it won't be so wobbly. And then you can weld the pipe to it. Then you want to trim that off and have it just about level all the way across with your inner core and your tube, because what we're going to end up with is this. You can see where I welded the core in the bottom. I cut a hole in the bottom, or drilled a hole in the bottom, so once the pipe and the center core are welded to the die, you can turn it over and then weld the core to the plate and then weld the pipe to the bottom plate again. Your green female already has holes drilled in it, the same spacing as mine, and that will match up pretty well if you keep them like that. If we ever have to if I have to help you out with the die or something, I can send you something that's already going to match up with the holes and everything. You know, it just depends. It's like, let's see here. I need a videographer, I guess. It's like this one has quite a deep dish. in comparison to that one. Yeah, can't see that very well, but you know, there's quite a difference. But I made that one using one of the steel balls, and you know, that's more like getting close to fat knee radius. So I'm going to take you over to a drawing I just sketched up on the dry erase board. Okay. The green kind of represents what you have now. This is your top piece with the solid post in it already. And when you get done making your dies, you know, like it's talking about, you can set this on your center core here and squeeze it down and hold it in place while you weld that all up together. But you're going to want to replace that with the square tubing I sent you. It has a solid core in it that I already welded in. You have to make sure that's on top. And then these are the pieces of angle iron. There's 3 of them there, and they're meant to take place of this piece here where it overhangs and keeps your piece centered as it goes up and down. So you're probably going to have to put a spacer here and get a piece of flat plate. My plan was originally to put a spacer here, make sure it's all, this part is centered within the green part, your uprights, which are wider than this. And my original plan was to weld some spacers in there, get it all centered, weld these in, weld this in, and then drill and tap that and put a couple of bolts in a plate there so that it could be easier removed. You know, you're gonna have to, let's see, gonna have to weld some plates on top of this here, top and bottom, you know, and weld them in to take up the space, you know, of your jack on top and your die on the bottom. So in the end, this is going to look like this with these angles out here, and that's going around this, and then you're going to have a plate here on the bottom with threaded bolt through it to attach your dies to here on the bottom of it, and one on top for your jack to rest on. I hope that helps. You know, if you got any more questions, or if you find you really need something different, let me know. I'll try to get this posted on your Facebook tonight, and we'll go from there. Cheers.